it's Josh here, Jim's Hobbies. Today I'm going to talk about the Radiolink RC8X. Um, there was a promotion I saw to get one of these, and they want you to do a little review, specifically over the new firmware. So later on in the video, we will go out and range test it. That's the biggest thing with the new firmware. It said it would reach up to 600 meters, if I remember right. Um, and that was one of the big complaints, I guess, about the radio. I'm not sure. I hadn't used one of these. Yeah, the new firmware will reach a stable ground control distance of 600 meters. Um, so I have been using this RC6GS for our speed runs. The Fly Skies GT5 or the Noble in the normal settings would not reach out there. I didn't want to go buy a range extender. I didn't want to add to it. And we've been running like an Arm and Limitless and did other speedrun challenges, Little Tamaya's, and there's a speedrun challenge getting ready to come up from Top Speed RC Mitchell Minor for like basically your old drag cars. So we've been using this and I liked it. It was easy to use and never had it lose signal in what I'd been running. And you can put the LiPo in the bottom, it comes set up that way. So when they said, hey, if you want to try the new radio, we'll give it to you at a discounted price. Not a huge discount. I still paid over $200 for this. But when I looked into it, I think it fit all my needs. We've been using the Fly Sky GT5 for a lot of our trucks just because of budget, but the recent ones that come out have had issues with the potentiometers. Either the steering or the throttle has been giving us issues. I've had to replace 2 steering potentiometers and a throttle potentiometer. And it shouldn't be that way. The old ones I never had problems with. When they wore out was just from use. Now it's seeming like they're just not the same quality they used to be. I know Fly Sky just released the G11P, and it's around $200. But for my use, the Fly Sky, you have to program it to have a momentary switch to do things. Winch or controls like for my skid steer, which I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is my 3D printed skid steer that came from Cults 3D. It's AN3D RC or AN3DR, and Defenders Customs makes a modification to put a worm gear drive in it. So, but the bucket moves and the upper arms move. So with a GT5, you would have to use these knobs to move it up and down. And then to get it back to center and all that, yes, the ESC built-in has a shutoff so it doesn't go too far. But if you're using this, you want to be able to use momentary. So I will switch cameras and show you what I'm talking about here. On the Radiolink are the DT switches. This is your throttle and steering trim, but you have this one and this one. You can turn them into a momentary switch, which, let's see if I'm, so using this momentary switch, I can articulate, it's hard to do backwards, and it stops when I let off, so it's momentary. Then I can use my bucket. All from the momentary switch. I really, really like that, and it helps a ton being able to do stuff like this and stop where you want instead of turning the knob, hoping you're close, then going back and finding center. So that was really important to me. And if you haven't seen one of these, they're super cool. You print it yourself at home, buy the actuators and stuff, and it's all 3D printed. Super cool. But it also has your display and stuff on the radio, which looks really nice. You can change your own colors, shows you what the servos are doing, so you can set it all up before you ever plug it in so you don't burn anything up. So that's one big function, being able to have a momentary switch without having to program the radio. This is my FlySky Noble NV4 that I've been using for comps and stuff. You can tell I've used it a lot. Screen's beat up. It's been used. These two switches to get this radio to have a momentary switch. WTF Cars has an incredible video on it. But to dumb it down, you have to use 3 channels. The channel the winch is on, and then 2 other channels for programming mix, just to get it to work. So you've lost 3 channels to run 1. You assign a switch to different channels. So this would be winch in, this would be winch out. I have to use 2 switches and 2 channels to run a winch, which I've gotten used to it. It's easy to do for me to hit the winch while I steer. I use it now, it's good, because when I started doing comps, this wasn't out there. So this having those switches is huge help. And now I'll move to the receivers. So next, there's a ton of different receivers that go to this. The new FlySky G11P won't use any of my GT5 receivers, because I was looking at it. I was thinking about getting it. I have, I don't know, 30 of these in different cars. And they release a new radio, 2 new radios. The Nobles, Noble Plus, and the G11P won't use any of those receivers. That's just not a good thing. They made their receivers ANT protocol, which doesn't match up to the Noble or the GT5. So now you got to buy more receivers. I have receivers for this radio, and then they work with the new one. That's a big deal to me. Between me, my wife, and son, we have over 100 RC cars, trucks, minis, skid steer. So that's a big deal. So this is your long range receiver, the R8FG dual antenna. It has a gyro built in. This is your normal 6-channel receiver. And then what's really cool is this new receiver that I didn't know about until now. It's 4 minis. It's the R4FGM. It has a gyro in it. Not that I'll use it on this, but this receiver compared to that receiver is a huge difference. I'm probably going to get more of these receivers and possibly start switching comp trucks over to it, because it's so small, so light. It's perfect for your SCX24, your 18 scale Red Cats, UTV 18s, whatever you want to use. I mean, it fits on this tiny, tiny skid plate underneath the body. It's a lot of times you got to decase a receiver, do all that. So those receivers are $17 if I remember right. And you can get a 2-pack of these for $30. One GT5 receiver is $26. One NV4 receiver for the 4-channel is $33, I think. So even though the radio costs a little bit more, it has the potential to save you money in the long run if you're changing over a lot of vehicles. It comes with a case. That's a pretty nice size. It came with an extra trigger and stuff. It came with the long range receiver and that mini receiver. Um, that was a big help. Next, if anyone's using a MacBook for like their YouTube video editing and stuff like that, you know that a lot of RC programs are Windows based. So your Castle, you have to program through a Windows based software. A lot of your stuff is all Windows based. This radio has an SD card built in right here. You just pop out and you can put into an SD mini slot and put your programming in it. There's tons of videos out there. I'm not going to go over the videos on how to do it. But it's so easy. I plugged it into the mini SD slot, updated the firmware, put it in firmware mode, which you just hold these two buttons while you turn it on and it goes into your update mode, and updated the firmware. It took 3 minutes. A lot easier than the FlySky Assistant, which I have to use a different computer or laptop, download all the stuff, bring it back, update it. It was so much easier. Before we do the range test, one last thing. This holds 20. The GT5 holds 20. The new G11P holds 40. This is supposed to hold 200 cars. 200. You have the ID for 16 of them, so you don't ever have it where your receiver could bind to something else, or you had two cars on at the same time and it wants to bounce back and forth. But to hold 200 cars, I've not used the ID. I've never had an issue. I've ran it on, I don't know, 3 different speedrun challenges and stuff with this radio, and I've never programmed the ID into it. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying I've not used it, and it's worked great for me. All right, we're going to go out, do a range test to see how far we can get this go. I got to charge up my GNSS real quick, and stay tuned for that. Hopefully it's not too windy for this, but we did 900 feet so far. We're going to go out and do a second test somewhere farther away. Maybe take it to a road where we can actually go as far as we want, but that's 900, or that was 1,800 feet down and back. So that's pretty good. Like, I think that's farther than our other radios definitely would have gotten.
Yeah.
A lot of our speed runs we've done have been around that distance or a little less, but
1,200 easily.
we're gonna go someplace else and range test it. So that one was fun. We got some drone footage and stuff, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll do one more. All right, so we found a road. We think that would be close. It's not really a speed run road, but I think we have a good chance to have the right amount of distance and do it. Oh, Jericho's VTEC's kicking in on his Honda. So we will be at that road in just a minute, and hopefully we can get 1,900 feet. We'll see. See if we can see the car that far.
we lost our signal, went down, got the truck because it didn't want to pick back up because we were too far away. So we backed up to where we were. So we should be within a couple feet. Stop. Read. 2,123 feet. 3 feet. I'll screenshot it later. So it made it about 1,070 feet. So a little bit farther than we went out in the field. So 1,000-foot range. It says 1,900. The batteries had a little bit of discharge on them from running in the field. We didn't recharge everything, but 1,000 feet, not bad. Really windy, and it's obviously not optimal. Like, it's good placement of the receiver. It's got the 90-degree on the antennas, but a speedrun car might reach out a little farther. But 2,000 feet from like down and back, that's not bad. Pretty happy with it. Hopefully we'll go out later and do a follow-up test with a speedrun car that has like a better body and you can position the antennas better, but with the crawler so we could see it going that far. 1,000 feet. All right, thanks everybody. See you on the next one.